I'm sorry for anybody that doesn't have a Katherine in their life. She's really changed me. She reminds me to get up and go and find something new or learn something new, try something new.
I love her passion for life and her love of people, her love of country and her Lord.
If there's a will, there's a way for her. She's such a leader, and she loves to stand up for what she believes in.
She definitely has a sense of adventure and an outgoing spirit.
There's nowhere Katherine Brown Ohlhausen would rather be than enjoying nature, the outdoors, and all life has to offer with her husband and 2 children. The devoted wife and mother, avid shooter, hunter, and passionate philanthropist has dedicated her life to positively influencing lives wherever she goes.
I love having people around. It feeds my soul, and that's what it's all about. A love of the outdoors and the love of nature, spending that kind of time together is important. We grew up here in Atlanta. My parents are originally from South Carolina, so we have really strong low-country roots, and that's something that they never lost touch of. And so growing up, even in Atlanta, being in the city, we were always involved in the outdoors. We did not grow up playing tennis and golf. It was always hunting and fishing, those kind of things. I'm the youngest of 4. I have 2 sisters and a brother.
I'll never forget, I was there at the home waiting for Mom and Dad to come home from the hospital, and knowing full well I had a brother coming home. And I remember pulling in the driveway, Mom rolled the window down, and I said, "What's his name? What's his name?" And Mom said, "Katherine." I just busted out crying, but as God would have it, she was the one sister that took a liking to the outdoors, to hunting and learning how to shoot.
I think from that day, I was shaped into being a tomboy because I became my big brother's pseudo-brother. When Eric and I met, one of my prerequisites was, I hope he can hunt, because that's what I grew up knowing.
It was probably a more awkward first date because it was a group blind date.
Co-workers of mine and co-workers of his were friends, and they kept saying, "You need to get together, y'all would be great."
They conspired and figured it'd be a good match, and we are later this year celebrating our 25th anniversary, so I think they did a pretty good job putting us together. We had an interesting first 2 years of marriage. We were married on a typical Saturday night, but then the following Monday I was starting business school in Manchester, England. And so the first 2 years we were married, we were out of the country. We were in about 25 countries throughout Europe and Asia and Australia. There's no place that she has any reservation about going to. We've backpacked through India, we've gone through Laos, horseback riding in Uruguay, it's just, you name it, Bosnia and Serbia and Croatia.
We've all had an appreciation for the outdoors, so the more you can get outside, the better.
I think that foundation of seeing the world, of travel, wanting to share that with our kids, sure enough, later on, that's really what we did with them.
We've always been very outdoor oriented. I've been on my dad's lap in the stand since I could walk, and so is Wallis. Whether that's in the dove field or in the deer stand. A lot of our really good just family memories of watching a dog bust up a covey of quail, or watching the ducks come in.
We first went to South Africa for our 10th anniversary in an area called the Karoo, kind of the Plains game area along the Orange River.
We, followed these groups of impala around for a long time, and finally we got some right in the range where we could get into position. And my guide, my professional hunter, was like, "Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. When I tell you to pull the trigger, you pull." And that's what we did. And boom, I shot it. I can feel the adrenaline. It was such a big deal. It was the first time I'd shot a big game animal. So there are all kind of emotions that go through you on that. You're excited, you're proud, but you're also, you're a little sad. It's a lot to take in.
5 years later, we returned with our kids and my parents.
We went sailing, we went bungee jumping, we went cycling. I mean, it was photo safari. It's one of the best trips ever.
Ever since their time abroad as a young couple, Katherine and her husband Eric dreamed of showing the world to their 2 children, Wallis and Marshall. As luck would have it, all the pieces would fall into place in 2007 when the entire Ohlhausen family embarked on a year-long adventure across the globe.
Second trip to South Africa we had planned as a summer family vacation. And one night we were over at Catherine's friend's Julie's house, and we just looked at each other and said, what if we don't put our kids back in school after Africa and do what we always have talked about, which is show our kids the world?
We kind of floated the idea that night around the dinner table just to see what they would say, you know, and they were all for it.
We just, you know, kind of picked up everything and just kind of left, and it was a pretty cool bonding experience as far as families go, because
We were each other's only friends on the trip.
Marshall and Wallis clearly are better siblings. They realized that each was the other's only friend for the year, and so I think that's paid off well for everyone as a family, just to have had that experience.
I mean, it was an adventure.
it takes a lot of courage to just drop everything and just kind of leave. But it's the type of thing that I really do hope that I'm able to do with, you know, my family at some point down the road.
For Katherine and her brother Bennett, the legacy of their parents is not only the impact they left on their hearts, but the impact that their charitable work will leave on future generations. Their devotion to their community and children continues through their namesake philanthropic foundation and has led to numerous fundraising efforts throughout the Atlanta area.
Dad came from a childhood where he really didn't have much. He didn't come from, how do I put this? They were poor. And so Dad and Mother both felt that the best thing they could do as far as leaving a legacy and an impact was to help children in need.
They have always been very passionate stewards in their community. They were always giving of their time, of their resources, always doing whatever they could to better the community that they lived in. And so they set a very good example for us, and they expected us to do the same. And we've been doing that ever since.
Mom and Dad set up a foundation before they passed. It's the Mary Alice and Bennett Brown Foundation.
It's their lasting legacy, and they said to their 4 children, this is what we want you to do. We want you to carry this on.
Seeing our family foundation that has been in effect way before I was even born, that's always been a big part of our family and taught us how to combine philanthropy with things that interest us.
They definitely showed us that, you know, giving back can also be a lot of fun.
Over the years, I've been involved in different shooting tournaments, and we host one here in Atlanta every spring called the Atlanta Charity Clays. I chaired it back in 2004, I believe, and then again about 5 or 6 years after that with my husband as a chairperson. This year, I'm happy to say my brother is chairing it, so we're keeping it all in the family. It is one of the most amazing events. It raises money for Atlanta area children's charities.
Bringing great people together that love the outdoors, that love to shoot, love our rights to carry firearms, and it's a great way for our foundation to be involved, helping kids while we have fun.
I shoot with a group of ladies that came out of the charity clays because we had a group of women who were shooting as a part of that. And so we said, well, why don't we add on a day to the charity clays and have it be the women's shooting day? And it worked really well, but as we grew, it became too much. We became our own entity. For several years, we raised funds for the Trust for Public Land. And most recently, we've changed our focus. One of our ladies brought to the table the military initiative at the Shepherd Spinal Center. And it is a wonderful organization that helps military vets who have had some brain injury and/or lost a limb for rehabilitation so that they can live a successful life and be back in the mainstream and have the support that they need.
Katherine's appreciation for philanthropy, the shooting sports, and the Second Amendment all prepared her for her next big role as co-chair of the 2017 NRA Women's Leadership Forum Luncheon and Auction in Atlanta, Georgia.
I've always been an NRA supporter. I've known about the NRA. Now my kids aren't around anymore. Eric and I still are, have our shooting pursuits and do all that on the weekends. And when the hunting season's here, we're busy with that as well. But yeah, it's something nice to find a group of like-minded people that enjoy the same thing I do and be able to engage in a whole nother way.
Shooting sports certainly are part of our lifestyle. I certainly like that there's a group that's looking out to assure that we continue to have access to what we enjoy.
It speaks to me, and I want to help be a part of that voice and change perception.
I'm very proud of her and her willingness to serve and take on this role of women in the NRA to help preserve our gun rights. I think it speaks to her love of country and her love of her rights and wanting to have those to be able to be continued on to her children.
Most people might envision the NRA and think it's all a men's organization. Now today, I will say, women are the fastest growing segment of gun owners, of the shooting sports, and our voice could shape the future and shape policy, and our concerns need to be considered. So far, I've been amazed by these women that I have come across, from meeting with Susan LaPierre and some of her other folks, that there is a lot to be done and a lot of excitement and a lot of momentum.
I'm very excited that my mom took on this role of the Women's Leadership Forum because, she is just such a leader, such a go-getter. This is right up her alley. It's inspiring to me that she's able to take on this role. I hope she also inspires other people.
My goal is to get the Atlanta group of women to come out and to take away that, wow, this is something bigger than myself. I want to bring more new people in as well.
I will definitely go to the Women's Leadership Forum because of her, yes. The history that she's had with her family and the camaraderie she's had with her husband and her children, that kind of gave me a base to believe in this. She just reminds me of an all-American moment in time right now.
I really want for my children to understand where I got it all from. The sense of family, the sense of purpose came from their grandparents. And so I just hope that they do have a good understanding of who their pawpaw and their mamie were, because they're the ones who laid all this groundwork. They laid the foundation. We have followed in their footsteps.
The legacy of her children will see that she's a real person. She gives back so much of her time and effort, and bending over backwards to help people in any way she can.
Katherine's legacy will be that she reminded all of us to enjoy every single minute of life, to live it and live it well.